All right. Sounds like we're live. Well, welcome in everybody. Welcome to my first stream. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it goes good. Um, yeah, I'd say they'll get better as they go. But I do have some stuff I'm wanting to go over with y'all tonight. Um, I've been into this Charlie Kirk thing up to my earlobes, and there's just so much stuff going on with it. Um, Everybody's got their own ideas as to what happened and how and why. Um, but there are a few big names out there that have just suddenly changed their position and for no apparent reason. People that are consider themselves professionals, um, and there's just really no explanation. The one in particular that I want to talk about tonight is Gary Tactical. Um, I started out watching a lot of his content and really enjoyed it. Um, but all of a sudden, there's been a huge shift, and I feel like this shift has been due mainly to Candace Owens, especially lately. The whole Fort Huachuca. Um, it's just like everybody all at once just went on cue, full attack, and he's flip flop. And you know, there has been no new information that's come out. Yes, we got the charging documents, but the charging documents really didn't say anything other than what the FBI and was kind of leaking out here and there, and what Governor Cox had said. So there's really no good explanation for why they would just 180 degrees just change their mind totally. Um, so we're going to go over some clips, look at some stuff. I got some points. We'll just go through this list point by point, and I just want to go into some of the comments that he's made lately, and just show the main difference in what it was before to what it is now. I think it's important. There's a difference between being wrong and then misinformation. But when you make a flop like this for no apparent reason, with no good explanation, especially when you're supposed to really know your stuff and be a professional, there's got to be a reason. And I don't think it's just because he doesn't understand how bullets work. So, please, I know this is my first stream, so I would really appreciate it. Y'all could like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff, share it. We'll get through this first one, and then after this, I promise you they'll get better. I had to get started somewhere, and tonight's the night. All right. The first thing that I heard him say, which absolutely blew my mind, said recently, was that a 30-06 is designed for everything from rabbits up to moose. I don't know how many people out there are hunters. I know a bunch of you got to be. For me, a 30-06 would be the very last thing that I would grab if I was going to shoot a rabbit. A 30-06 is going to, disintegrate a rabbit. There is no 30-06 round ever on the market that was sold as a varmint round. It just don't happen, and he knows this. He absolutely knows this, 100%. I'm gonna pull up a little something here on the 30-06 round and how it was designed. This is from good old Grok. It says the 30-06 Springfield cartridge was originally designed in 1906 as a military round for the U.S. Army, intended to provide long-range ballistic performance against human targets in warfare. It was not initially created specifically for hunting any particular game animal. However, it quickly gained immense popularity among civilian hunters and became widely regarded as the premier all-around big game cartridge in North America. Let's see. Says makes it suitable for a wide variety of game, including medium game like whitetail or mule deer, pronghorn, sheep, and hogs. Also, larger, heavier game such as elk, moose, black bear, grizzly, brown bear, and even bison. One thing on that list that's not on that list is rabbits, and I think we all know why. Absolutely ridiculous. Um, so let's see here. Um, I don't know if y'all watched. I don't know if y'all watched the interview he did on the Charlie Kirk show um, with oh, what's their names? Anyway, um, but he was using all these big terms, gyroscopically stabilized and stuff. So he was definitely trying to make himself look really smart, but then some of the things he said after that just really, really made things go totally the opposite direction. Um, one thing that he said that I thought was interesting was that the MLK Martin Luther King Jr. was very similar to Charlie Kirk. I don't know if any of you people have looked into the Martin Luther uh, King Jr. thing. I have not just done a really deep dive on it, but that was two totally, totally different situations. Um, with MLK, I believe he was on a balcony when he was shot. And best I remember, I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he was kind of leaned over. So the bullet, when it went into his neck, it kind of went in at this angle, I think. Totally, totally different than a shot coming almost straight on into the neck. I mean, there is just nothing, there's not just not much there to stop a bullet. Um, and he keeps on going on all these rants on these different podcasts and on his own show, basically saying that everybody's dumb for not believing that this 30-06 could get stopped in his neck. Um, another point that he made that I thought was crazy was that it's totally possible that it was just that particular bullet. Said that velocity varies round around in a box of ammo, so he could have pulled one out and I guess it been loaded wrong. Something would have been wrong with it. Um, I've shot boxes of shells set down, gun on bags or in a vise, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I mean every box I've ever shot, there has really been no variation much on the target or anything like that. To say that a bullet moving at 3,000 feet per second and whatever it is, 3,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, that because one had a little less powder in it or something was a little bit wrong with it, that it not stopping his neck is just ludicrous in my opinion. Um, let's see. So, and you know what? Just to kind of prove my point and what I'm saying, just to give a foundation of where he was originally, and this is off of his own show. Not too long after Charlie Kirk was killed. Um, I'm gonna pull up a clip here real quick and play. All right, so this right here is this is how he felt about the whole 30-06 stopping in his neck.
especially once I went there, talked to people on the ground, saw the campus, a lot of what wasn't clear to me was crystal clear. Especially by the time that we got the charging documents out, they laid out the evidence. Everything made sense. It really did. And, they continue to push a lot of disinformation, and there's a lot of reasons behind.
Guys, I'm sorry, rookie mistake. That's the wrong clip. Should have had my headphones on. Hey, we'll get through it. I promise I'll never make that mistake again. I probably will, though. Okay, here we go. This will be more like it.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty conclusive. It's still not, guaranteed or anything like that. And again, I'm perfectly fine with being wrong. But here's my thing. At the end of the day, it's like people tell me if he doesn't have plates, that's like you tell me, hey, Gary, there's not a hole in your tire, but my tire is continuing to leak air. There's something there. And when we don't have an exit wound, and when we have the shirt doing what it's doing, you got to explain those physics to me. You got to come up with a better explanation for it.
What about that? Sounded to me like he didn't think that a human neck would stop a 30-06. Let's see. I've got another clip too. Let's see. All right, let's see what he has to say here.
For everybody else saying, it hit his collarbone. A collarbone is not going to deflect around like that at 30-06 either, or really even any.
Maybe a pistol round. Maybe you could maybe entertain. But a high-powered rifle round is not going to deflect like that off collarbone. So let's.
That collarbone was there.
I don't know if you caught that at the end, but he said that bullet would not even know that collarbone was there. And I have heard him go on show after show on his show over and over and over again, repeatedly saying that his spine could deflect that round. When he just said plainly that a collarbone couldn't and wouldn't do it, and that it would never, though that bone was there. So why the difference? Yeah. All right, let's see. So we'll go on to another one. Talking about the tumbling, like, if there was a defect with the shell, that it could have tumbled, and in the case that it did, he could see it very easily not having an exit. Again, I think that is just ludicrous. I'll be honest with you, with 3,000 pounds of energy, moving at 3,000 feet per second, give or take, I think that bullet, if it hit him completely sideways, I think it would go through and through with no issues whatsoever. And I think he knows that too. Let's see, look at it. Let's look at some other. Oh, yeah. So, he was on the Charlie Kirk show when he was on there. He kept saying that why would they leave the wrong gun? From the get-go, the bed slop narrative has been that it was a 30-06 that they found it, right down the road in the woods by the chicken coop or whatever, and that it was definitely a most definitely a 30-06. And then when people are having this discussion about it being impossible for a 30-06 to just lodge itself right under the skin in a human neck, now he's saying, yeah, it's totally possible. Totally possible. Doesn't make sense to him for it to be any other way. If Tyler Robinson's a patsy, if there was some framing and stuff going on, why would they leave the wrong gun? If they shot him with a whatever 223, why didn't they leave a 223? And he said that it would be, he sees it as being more likely that his neck stopped 30-06 than them leaving the wrong gun. I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but two other really big name assassinations that we've had in recent history, would be JFK and again MLK. And funny enough, in both situations, guess what? They left the wrong gun. I mean, I think with JFK, let's see here. Yeah, let me just pull this up here. Let's see. The wrong rifle, the JFK assassination. Let's see here. That's a little small. All right, it says the Dallas police deputies, including Eugene Boone, Seymour Weissman. All right, so they had said that it was a 7.65 millimeter German Mauser is what it was supposed to be. But after a day or two, it changed to a 6.5 millimeter Italian Carcano. That's a whoopsies. You would think with all the planning that went into this, they would make sure they got the right gun. Obviously, the FBI has a track record of this kind of thing. Don't put all your faith and trust in the FBI police. Let's see. There is another thing that I want to show. And this is on the MLK. Okay. Judge Joe Brown, one of my favorites. Talk about a good old-fashioned American patriot and super smart. A lot of people don't take him seriously, I feel like, just because he had his TV show and everything. But I mean, the man was legit a real life judge and did some really high profile cases. And one of those was MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. So this is what it says about that situation. It says, as the presiding judge in Ray's post-conviction proceedings, Brown oversaw ballistic testing on the alleged murder weapon, a Remington Game Master 30-06 rifle that Ray had purchased and which was found near the crime scene. Brown concluded that this rifle did not fire the bullet that killed MLK. Key issues included mismatching in rifling marks, twist rate inconsistencies, failure of the test-fired bullets to consistently match the fatal projectile. He publicly stated that the rifle was the wrong gun and that Ray was likely a patsy in a larger conspiracy. Brown was eventually removed from the case in 1998. reportedly for perceived bias in favor of granting Ray a new trial. Wow, isn't that odd? Can't believe that he got taken off of that case. But there you go. There again. They had a patsy. More than likely knew ahead of time what kind of gun that was going to be used, but just could not manage to get the right gun there. And actually, I don't remember if it was Judge Joe Brown or somebody else. I was doing some reading up on this, and I guess that was the second rifle that he originally went and picked the rifle up and came back with a 243, I think it was. And then ended up having to go back to get this 30-06, and it still ended up being the wrong 30-06. So, yeah, they're not real good at getting the right gun there. So, to me, it's way, way more believable that it was the wrong gun than his little neck is going to stop that 30-06 bullet. It's just crazy to think that it would do that. Let's see what else we got here. So he was talking about how everybody that's done all these tests on YouTube and everywhere with the different rounds to see if they could get one to stop and something. He was talking about how everybody's using ballistic gel, and it's not the same as human. Let's see. So the point he made is that he was wearing, besides the fact that there's muscle and other things in there that are not in the ballistics gel, that he was also wearing clothing. So like that, I guess his shirt could be a contributing factor to it stopping. I guess he thinks that his shirt would slow it down enough to keep it from not having an exit wound. But a lot of these tests are done on cow femurs. I mean, like pork, big solid bones, way more substantial than a little human neck vertebrae. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And one thing about the ballistics gel, I'm not going to say that it would necessarily have the stopping power of a human neck. But what it lacks in, maybe some tendons and veins and, stuff like that in there, what it lacks in that, is, I feel like somewhat equalized by the fact that they're solid. That if that ballistics gel neck is 5 inches across, I mean, it's 5 inches solid of ballistics gel. The neck is nowhere close to being solid. There's just not much, especially where it hit. There's just not much there. And honestly, I find it hard to believe that a 223 would stop in the neck. I find it hard to believe that any high power rifle round would stop in something like a neck at that angle. No, it wasn't straight on, but wasn't like it was coming in straight down. Now I could see that, but at that angle, I think it was 9 degrees, give or take, is what most people agree on as being the right angle. I just see no way in the world, and neither does anybody else that's being honest, has a half a brain. And part of that whole interview, um, was on the Charlie Kirk show, was trying to make everybody out here that's questioning this whole thing just look dumb. Uh, he was on with I think it was Liz Wheeler also, and that one was bad. And he spent the whole thing making making remarks about some of these questions that people have, just to make them sound stupid. Here's one right here. They talked about how people are saying that the FBI paved over the scene. Well, I don't know anybody that said that the FBI paved over the scene. Um, what I have heard out there, and what I have kind of been concerned about myself, is the fact that the FBI and or the Utah state law enforcement allowed it to be paved over in, what was it, 3 or 4 days? I don't remember exactly, but um, that has been the issue with anybody and everybody that I've heard bring that up. I have not ever heard one person say that the FBI personally went out there and paved over that crime scene. Again, that's just ludicrous. Just trying to make us that have questions still have questions just look stupid. Another point he made was that you don't have to be Spider-Man to get up there and do this. Again, I think most everybody knows that the access to that roof was, but anybody could get up there, literally walk up there. It was the exfil. It was him leaving that was more surprising to most people. That would have took a little more athletic ability. I mean, he had to. When he come over the side of that thing, I should have loaded that clip up. I don't know why I didn't. When he came off of there, he literally was holding himself with one hand, and then if you watch when he lands, I mean, and he would have broke his legs jumping from that height if he hadn't known how to land. But comes in, goes down to the ground, perfect on both feet, jumps up, and he's gone. So, not going to say that it takes Spider-Man, but not just anybody could bail off a roof like that and get up and walk away like nothing. So, again, Gary, nobody said that you had to be Spider-Man to get on that roof. And us folk out there that still have questions don't appreciate being made out to look like idiots. It is what it is. I really should have loaded up that. Really should have gotten that Liz Wheeler, isn't it? Let me see if I can find that real quick. I think that'd be worth taking a look at. I think it'd be worth taking a look at if we can, if I can find it here. Let's see. Okay. All right, guys, I'm a rookie. I can't help it. Oh, let's see. Oh, huh. I'm a rookie. So, okay, let's see here. We're getting there. Okay. Oops. Okay. Now we might be getting somewhere. Okay. Let's see. Okay, come on now. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Found it. Finally. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can find the whole thing. Yeah, there it is.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does. First of all, big tech.
I did some statistical analysis here that I.
Okay. Trying to get
The purpose of what we're trying to do here.
a bunch of time
It also makes you very vulnerable
get
to
it to,
believing fantastical
get
stories
where the good
that
stuff is.
are based not in fact, but are based in emotion. And I think we're seeing that. Point to make about information that we actually don't know about the specific round that was fired into Charlie Kirk, making it impossible for anybody to speak in absolutes because there's information you would have to plug into an equation in order to get an output. And that information is blank. The authorities have not yet released it. So, Gary, thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay, so you know a lot more about the ballistics of the thing than I do. And I want you start at the beginning. It's okay to be very elementary here. You've seen that dummy video that I showed, the ballistics gel. You've seen some of these claims. And by the way, from prominent pro-gun individuals too. I forget the name of the guy. He's the president of gun rights. He had commented and told me that it was virtually impossible. He runs a big gun rights organization. I want to hear your take, your experience on, you can talk about the probability of this happening, but just like how this works from a ballistic standpoint.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I mean, before you're going to try to predict any ballistic or terminal ballistic outcome, I mean, there's some basic parameters that you got to have. And that is, number one, what type of ammo was this? Was it store-bought ammo? Were these hand loads? We don't know that. We don't know the bullet weight, like what grain of bullet was this? We don't know the projectile type.
What does it matter? What does it matter with a damn 30-06? Who cares what grain it was, what size the bullet was, and how it was loaded? It's a 30-06.
You know, was this full metal jacket? Was it a soft point? What is it? Was it a frangible? You know, the fact of the matter is that 30-06 is at one point, it's kind of antiquated now, but at one point was one of the most common cartridges in the United States. And it has been designed for a wide range of uses, shooting everything from rabbits up to moose. So
Rabbits up to moose. Again, I say, if I had a rabbit I needed to shoot, a 30-06 is the last thing that I would reach in there to grab.
So, you know, for us to sit and pretend that with the information that we have that we can determine that ballistic outcome, it's quite frankly, it's ridiculous. We don't know the muzzle velocity. We don't know.
Oh, I could predict it. And I think most people with a half a brain can too.
Anything about the actual rifle itself. We don't know if that round was gyroscopically stabilized. There's just so many variables in that external.
Oh, it being gyroscopically stabilized would have kept it from going through his neck.
And terminal ballistics that we don't know. And then on top of that, there's, I mean, literally every time that you do a terminal ballistics test, I don't care if you're shooting ballistic gel and or something else. I mean, you get variants, quite a wide range of variants every single time. And, you know, you kind of brought up Martin Luther King. That is a great example. I mean, his injuries and
No, it's a shitty example.
his autopsy is very, very similar to what we're hearing from what happened with
Not at all.
Charlie Kirk. I mean, it actually hit him in the mandible, went down, hit him in the back, and actually the bullet went downward with no exit.
Yeah, because he was leaned over. It went in at that angle. It didn't go in like this and then make a hard turn.
And while there is some controversy around MLK about who shot him, was it really, you know, I can't think of the guy's name that shot him, but you know, was it him? Was it somebody else? Really, the 30, whether or not it was a 30-06, all throughout the research that I've done, I can't find that question was ever posed. I think it's pretty well accepted it was a 30-06. Another great example of this, and I definitely recommend people go find him on Twitter and follow him, a fellow Green Beret named Chuck Ritter. He was actually shot 4 times with 7.62 by 54, which is known to be the Russian equivalent of the 30-06. One of those rounds hit him in the back. It actually almost obliquely hit him in the back, hit his spine, went downward, and he's still alive today. And that bullet did not exit.
Hit him in the back. A human in the back. We're talking about, you know, whatever. Totally different than a neck that's, what, 5 inches, 6 inches in diameter.
And on top of that, and what's crazy about his story is, number one of his team members was actually wearing a helmet cam. So there's video of this. And then when people questioned him on this, said he was lying, that he didn't know what he was talking about, he posted the video. That wasn't good enough. We knew exactly what round that Tyler Robinson was using. Like, it may be all but impossible to replicate that as well. Again, you're talking about an extremely high speed event, an extremely high energy event that, again, there's so many variables. Is it actually, and there's even variants, you get one box of ammunition and you'll have multiple muzzle velocities come out of every single one of those rounds. And, you know, all of those little things, those variances that you really can't control are very hard to replicate something like that. Are you getting the angle exactly right? Are you hitting the other thing? And the other really important point, with all these people that are testing with ballistic gel is not not even close to a good analog for a human being. It is a homogeneous material, and last time I checked, we are not. Like, we have muscle, we have tissue, we have fascia, we have tendons, we have ligaments, and we actually have bones. And just like you, I have 2 of those dummies over there that you just showed, but they're the full torso.
Yes, we have bones. But in the neck, There are very few bones. And a spine is not going to make a 30-06 round take a turn.
So, and when I got them, realizing, look, the bones are made out of plastic. Those don't replicate. There's no skin on top of them. There is no clothing. Like, all of these small things make huge differences when you're trying to replicate something like this. I mean, you would literally need, well, the way the FBI and other places, they use cadavers. You know, that's a lot of what they do. And even those don't quite replicate a human being. It's closer, but you don't have the fluids. There's other things going on there that still don't quite replicate what would actually happen.
Yeah, and if we had all those things, they would definitely stop a 30-06 bullet.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. You
Oh,
just need a
God.
concept and a way to record it. Here's how.
Now, the rifle that Tyler Robinson used, his grandfather's rifle, I mean, it was reported almost immediately that it was gifted to him by his father, but it had originally been his grandfather's. His father actually recognized it and had texted Tyler asking for a photo of it. This is when his parents, I believe, began to suspect that it might have been Tyler who was the shooter. Does the type of rifle tell you anything about the likelihood of any of these variables as it relates to the round?
Not really. I mean, you know, the FBI is going to test that barrel. You know, what the barrel twist, all right, the rifling in that is going to determine whether or not, and again, you can also have a damaged crown. There's a rifle barrel can wear out. So the twist rate of that, you know, if he's using a really heavy round, let's say he was using 180 grain, but he has like a 1 in 12 or 1 in 14 twist, something like that, where it's not spinning it fast enough to stabilize that round. So what you have, instead of a bullet flying straight, all throughout that, it's wobbling around, which, you know, we did see an atypical entrance wound, what looks like an atypical entrance wound as well. And that
In what respect?
It looked larger than it should be.
And
And, you know,
that gives you indication that the round was spinning, for lack of better technology?
Well, if you think about, you know, we want a bullet to fly straight like this. And if
Okay.
it's not spinning enough and it's a heavier round, it'll
Bullshit.
energy, and it's not going to have an entrance wound. I mean, an exit wound. When you have an exit wound, that's enough and it's a heavier round, it'll wobble, and it could even start to tumble. So what we have is, instead of creating a small entrance wound, now because that bullet is oblique, it can actually cause a larger entrance wound, which will also make it dump energy a lot faster.
Mm.
So now it's coming in, maybe not quite sideways, but it could have been, you know, where we have it not quite sideways, and instead of actually having good efficiency going through air and flesh, now we have it sideways, and as soon as it hits flesh, it's going to dump a lot of that energy, and it's not going to have an entrance wound. I mean,
Oh,
an exit wound. When you have an exit wound,
Or
that's
exit wound. Absolutely not. No exit wound.
indicative of the bullet maintaining a lot of energy, and now it's expending that energy outside of the target. That's why, you know, when we use defensive rounds, we use hollow points, where it does exactly that. It deforms much quicker, and more of that energy is actually transferred to the target, as opposed to going right through the target, and now we have energy being expended outside of the target.
So that would make it more likely. When Charlie's head of security, Brian Harpool, was on Sean Ryan's show, he described that scenario, or I guess the scenario that we've been describing, which is sort of this ricochet effect. And again, I know a lot of people online are saying it's impossible. The physics of this are impossible for there to be a ricochet. But if there was like a tilt to the bullet as it entered because of how it was traveling through the air, I believe Brian Harpool described it as hitting vertebrae and then traveling downwards and causing fragmentation inside Charlie's body, essentially, versus an exit wound. That would make it more likely if it was already tilted downward.
Maybe. You know, again,
No.
it's such a fast, energetic event that it's hard to say. It depends on what it hit, how it hit, the material that it went through, the density of the materials. You know, one of the things that Brian Harpool did talk about that was really resonated with me was the sound it made when it hit. And I don't think that was the sound of it hitting his flesh. I think that the sound that he heard and other people heard and have described, even eyewitnesses there, where they heard a thump, a slap. I think that was the round actually hitting his spine at the time. So, you know, I think if we were having, even if it's called yaw, right?
I don't know if any of y'all people have been keeping up with Baron Coleman. I'm assuming probably you are. That right there, that whole slap sound, that's a topic for another day. They have really been pushing that hard. Everybody right off the bat come out talking about how he was how he was shot, talking about hearing the sound of the bullet slapping him. But like I said, that's a topic for another day.
So the bullet isn't flying straight on a perfect axis, downward angle. And, you know, quite frankly, the other thing that we have to consider is that it's, you know, Charlie wasn't sitting up straight, right? So he was actually leaning forward. And then there's a lot of even variance in that. Like, how much was he twisted this way the moment that he hit, or this way?
Or anything like that. But picturing the rendering of President Trump's slight movement and how it completely changed the outcome.
And I think that, and you know, this is one of the things, as I start to really research this and really understood what happened to Martin Luther King and started looking for other case studies of this. Number one, they're available. They are hard to find. This is not something that they keep a lot of data on. So, but the idea that it's impossible, or that it's even like,
Especially not when they stage the whole thing.
super rare. It's not once you start studying this stuff. And again, I think Chuck Ritter is a perfect example of this. You talked about Butler. This is a really good example too, because in Butler, the Secret Service that ended up killing Thomas Crooks, they were using 300 Win Mag. 300 Win Mag is about 50% more powerful than 30-06. You get about 1,000 foot-pounds more of energy. And they shot him in the face. And while we did have an exit wound, the caricature of what we should expect that everybody believes, like his head should explode, or he shouldn't have a neck, or all the things that I've heard people describe what a 30-06 should do, that didn't happen with Thomas Crooks. And he was shot with something that we know for a fact was significantly more powerful than even a 30-06.
I don't know if anybody remembers exactly how that went down and how everybody was oriented, but whenever that sniper took that shot at Crooks, he was laying down. He was still in the shooting position. So again, when that bullet came in, it was not like going through and through a neck. First, it went through that hard face. I mean, bone, all that. And at that angle that it was traveling, I mean, if it had been the right angle, there's no way it would have had an exit wound. It could have gone straight down and been buried.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wait a second. Go back to something you said before. The type of bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk, that's not been released. Do you mean it's not actually been determined that it's a 30-06, or just the different variations of that has not been released?
I don't remember, like in the charging documents, what I was specifically referring to was the type of bullet. Like, we don't know the parameters of that bullet. Like, I have 3 boxes of 30.
To fragment inside the target, like specifically not to cause an exit wound. Is that correct?
That is, they're not designed to fragment. They're designed to basically open up. So it deforms that projectile much faster. Now, there are also frangible rounds, frangible projectiles that are designed to fragment. But even with soft point and
that we are able to say, if we want to conduct an objective investigation, that I think it's important to say that it might be rare, but it is possible for a 30-06 to not cause an exit wound to remain in the body. And if, as I said before, I mean this without any disparagement towards any of the people that voted that it's impossible. Obviously, I love you guys. I like to have these conversations with you guys. Of course, I'm sitting here and I do want to persuade you that it's possible. Not because, by the way, I don't know these details that Gary's mentioned either. I don't know any of the different variables of this particular round, but I do know that without those variables and without us seeing the autopsy, we can't have an absolutist opinion denying that it was this type of round or that it was this shooter either. Otherwise, again, in my opinion, that's dogma, because that's a religious level belief that's not based on evidence, even when evidence is showing that another theory might be perfectly plausible, even if it is statistically less likely for it to be. Okay, so is there anything that we're missing when we're talking about this conversation? I mean, you've seen a lot of this stuff online too. I mean, people were talking about the FBI paving over the crime scene. Maybe talk to us about that, because I know you went to UVU and
nobody's ever said the FBI paved over the crime scene.
Documented. I saw a couple of these videos. I appreciated that you made these videos.
He said, I was asking him about, what was going on during the investigation right after Charlie Kirk was murdered. So the FBI, the local Utah authorities, and all the investigative different agencies involved, they had that entire campus locked down for 3 days.
This was a whole bunch of, in fact, not to be telling tales here, there were some disgruntled individuals as part of these agencies when Kash Patel did come in the next day and kind of claimed credit for all the investigative work on behalf of the FBI. Some people in these other agencies, and kudos to them for looking around for clues. Yeah, and what are they supposed to do? Leave it open so that people can walk around there with metal detectors and try to find,
Okay, that's enough of that. My God. What a change, what a change. Well, I think I've lost my camera. All right, let me see what's going on. Sorry about that, guys. Rookie. Hopefully I can avoid that happening again next time. I apologize. Okay, so let's see here. I want to look at some other clips that from shows that he has done. Let's see. All right. This is him again talking about the official narrative of it being stopped in his neck, and how he needs these physics explained to him. Because again, he does not believe that in a million years it would ever happen, that neck would stop a 30-06 bullet. Here we go.
I feel like that's pretty conclusive. It's still not, guaranteed or anything like that. And again, I'm perfectly fine with being wrong. But here's my thing. At the end of the day, it's like people tell me if he doesn't have plates, that's like you tell me, hey, Gary, there's not a hole in your tire, but my tire is continuing to leak air. There's something there. And when we don't have an exit wound, and when we have the shirt doing what it's doing, you got to explain those physics to me. You got to come up with a better explanation for it.
And shout out to Nate. I really appreciate Nate and the work he does. And I hated that he had to go through this. But it is what it is. Nate's cool. I really enjoyed Nate's content. Let's see here. Here's another clip of Mr. Gary.
Out, but here's the problem that I have with all this. All right, so if he doesn't have plates on his plate, we're saying that a 30-06, and I know there's a question of even whether or not it's 30-06, and I'm perfectly fine entertaining those things as well. But regardless,
we'll talk about that a little bit later.
We have a rifle round that we're saying that we have a direct neck shot. Well, any rifle round, I don't care if it hits vertebrae, whatever else, we're going to have an exit wound. And that exit wound is going to be significantly larger than the entrance wound. We're going to see profuse bleeding right away, just like we saw. Everything that we saw in the front, we're going to see at least that in the back, and we never see that.
Well, what about that? What changed your mind, Gary? What changed your mind? Well, let's see. I'll let him explain that. I'll let him explain that right here. On the Charlie Kirk show, he explained what changed his mind.
Especially once I went there, talked to people on the ground, saw the campus, a lot of what wasn't clear to me was crystal clear. Especially by the time that we got the charging documents out, they laid out the evidence. Everything made sense. It really did. And, they continue to push a lot of disinformation, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. But
everything made sense. When the charging documents came out, everything made sense. What information was in those charging documents that we did not have within the first couple of days? I mean, I saw absolutely nothing in there that we did not already know. It was the original narrative. It's still the same narrative. Tyler Robinson went up there, took a shot with a 30-06, and of course, his neck stopped it. And there's nothing in those charging documents that we didn't learn anything from those charging documents. Everything had been leaked by the time it came out. And he's a quote unquote professional. So what did he see in there that just changed his mind all of a sudden? I don't know. I guess that's up for y'all to decide. Here's another one with old Gary talking about how easy it is to do this.
Wow.
That's a good visual. That's a good visual. So
Yeah.
just from your knowledge across the spectrum and your own visits, do you feel there's any misconceptions that you're seeing repeated over and over and over again that have spread really far that in your opinion are pretty easily debunked or opposed?
Yeah, there's been a cycle of people taking very normal things, or maybe even slightly abnormal, and then turning them into suspicious items, right? One of the things that really struck me on the ground there was exactly how easy this entire thing was. Before I went there, one of the things that was being portrayed was like this was, some big conspiracy. It's very complex. You need professional hitmen. It's 140 yards. It's so far, all these things. Now, I knew the distances was nothing, especially for a scoped rifle. I mean, that is, my 8-year-old son was going to courses with us shooting 1,200 yards. It's not hard. And then once you see the layout of the campus, look.
He said it's not hard. And as far as the shot goes in the distance, I'll give him that. I mean, 140 yards is really nothing for a scope 30-06. But when he says that his 8-year-old could make that shot, I mean, again, that's not that far. Yes, anybody that's ever shot a gun should be able to sit down on a bench and shoot paper all day long and make that shot over and over and over again. To me, the difference is after doing all this planning, there's got to be some nerves, some butterflies. After that long walk, and getting up there and the excitement, the adrenaline, your heart rate's up. You get up there, you get in position. The guy knows that he can either be killed easily or spend the rest of his life in jail. I don't care how many times he's went hunting and how many animals he's, unalived in his whole 20 years of living. He knows that he's about to take a shot and take a human life. It is not the same as going to a shooting range, sitting down, and looking at a piece of paper out there at the other end. It is just totally unfair to even use that comparison. There's absolutely no comparison between the two. Would it have to be an absolute pro? I mean, maybe not. But there's a whole lot more involved than just sitting down, looking through the scope, and pulling the trigger. It's not as easy as straightforward as he's trying to make it sound. All the thoughts that are going through his head of what could be the result of all this. Yeah, no, it's not just a matter of making a 140-yard shot. I think that's all the clips I've got. Again, though, I want to go back. I watched a bunch of this man's content. I mean, I followed pretty closely along because I felt like he was one of the more sensible. He had questions, had a lot of the same questions I had. He had on a bunch of different people, and made his position clear that he had to have more information. That He just did not see how this would be possible. All of a sudden, Candace starts digging into certain things, and all of a sudden she's the devil. You know, she's making money off of this thing and all this stuff. And she's crazy. Anybody else that questions this whole thing is crazy for asking. I mean, again, he said somebody's going to have to explain those physics to me. Then he says when those charging documents came out, it all made sense. How? Why? What other information was in those charging documents that would explain this whole thing away? And just to be totally honest, I'm not convinced that Charlie Kirk was even shot with a gun. That's a whole nother story. Baron Coleman has been doing awesome research on all this. And I have to say, I kind of agreeing with him. He had some serious questions about whether he was shot at all, and so do I. But besides that, that's not even the point. The whole point is you take somebody like this man here that was convinced that there was no way, and then all of a sudden certain questions start getting asked. Oh, it all makes sense. Yeah. You're stupid for asking why. You're stupid for not believing it. Makes perfect sense. Crystal clear. But it's really not. The only thing that's crystal clear to me is that there is no way that a human neck will stop a 30-06 bullet. He didn't have bones of steel. He didn't have a Superman neck. I don't know. Why the 180 degree? Why the U-turn? Y'all tell me. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that he just suddenly saw the light and it clicked? Do you think he believes what he's saying? We're going to dig into some more of this stuff. Like I've been seeing so much from him lately, and I have to say I'm pretty disappointed. He's just, I mean, I don't know. And it's not just him. There's others out there just so arrogant, just absolutely just quit asking all these crazy questions about Egyptian planes and Fort Huachuca and all this. But obviously there's a little something to all that, or, I mean, everybody wouldn't be screaming at the top of their lungs right now. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but going back to Nate, Valhalla VFT. I don't know if y'all saw that interview he did. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a former French Foreign Legion. You know, Nate never did say for sure, but I mean, he did say though that after talking to him that the whole Foreign Legion thing sounded a whole lot more possible, at least, than what he originally had thought. there's a lot of people that's done a lot of digging, and pretty smart people, not crazy, that think there's something to all these theories. Again, Baron Coleman. Shout out Baron Coleman. You're awesome. He has really done an awesome job digging into all the planes and the Google searches, and y'all really, if y'all aren't following him, you really need to be. He's done some amazing work. But yeah, just like they always say about when you're over the target. Obviously, Candace is hovering right over the target, and I think whenever it's all said and done, I don't know. I think she's over the target. There's something there that some really important people really don't want to be known. I don't know, guys. What do y'all think? Do you think Gary believes it? I don't for a minute. I think you can tell by his mannerisms, his eyes, the way he blinks, just some of his facial expressions that he don't believe a word of it. He's gotten awfully close with the whole TPUSA crew lately. And I don't know, maybe maybe with all the feds that he's trained at his facility there at Paramount Tactical, maybe some of that Fed slop's just rubbing off on him. Who knows? I'm not saying he is the Fed, but there's definitely an agenda there. All these things that he's been saying lately are not things that he believes. And I'd like to hear directly from him why he's saying these things. If all this stuff that Candace has been talking about lately is that dumb, that stupid, and that far out there, why is it bothering people? Just let her say it. Watch her crash and burn if it's that outlandish, if it's that ridiculous. Watch her just crash and burn. But no. We gotta stop her. So what is it that she's digging all around if they don't want to? I don't know. It's crazy. I'm going to. I've got a few other big names that I've been paying attention to, and that I've noticed do the same thing. Got a lot more on him too. He has just been out there lately between X and different shows he's been on and people he's talked to. Yeah, he's really been out there. So I'm going to dig some more into that. I have been digging some more. I've got more that I just don't have time to get to. Get all that put together, and we'll have a look at all that next time. Again, this is my first stream. It'll get better from here, but please, if you would like the show, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to start out doing this about once a week, and then hopefully before long I can start doing it more often than that. And maybe I won't seem like such a rookie next time. Try to keep my camera going the whole time. All right, well, I appreciate it. Appreciate you watching. Go watch Baron. Make sure you're subscribed and follow him. Same with Nate. There's a whole bunch. Candace, obviously. Coach Colin. Hate to start naming names because I'll leave somebody out. But yeah, follow all those people. I definitely do. And yeah, we will see y'all. See y'all in about a week. Yeah. Just whatever you do, don't just blindly follow and believe the Fed slop narrative. You've got to ask questions. Like Charlie Kirk said, asking these questions, it's the only thing that keeps us free. So yeah, we can't just accept it and go on. We've got to know what actually happened, and we need our government to be honest about what happened. We need to know what happened, but we need them to be completely honest. And we shouldn't have to find all this out on our own, but that's just the way it is nowadays. It's sad. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to get off here, and I appreciate y'all watching. And yeah, be back with y'all in a few days. And yeah, we'll see you next time.